All right, welcome back. Today we're continuing our latest exam review. This is our fourth BCBA mock exam. We're going to go through the next 10 questions together and break them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our proven study materials, please check out behavioranalyststudy.com. We offer 3 full practice exams, a study guide, and our combo pack with flashcards. If you buy the combo pack or the practice exams, we are going to send you this fourth exam whenever it is done. We also have a membership option now on YouTube if you'd like to support us further. Other than that, let's keep working hard, keep studying hard, get to our questions. 21. Applied behavior analysis primarily uses single subject designs and research. What is meant by single subject? Hear it all the time, probably taking a full class on single subject. Why is it called single subject design? And why do we use it? Well, the idea behind single subject design is we can look at how our interventions affect individual people, right? That's why most of our designs are very small. Even multiple baseline, we're really only looking at 3, 4, or 5 subjects at once. What do we really mean by single subject? What is the overall idea of a single subject design? A, researchers can only study one subject at a time. Well, that's just not true. Just like we said, if we have a multiple baseline design, okay, we can look at multiple participants all at once. B, researchers are not allowed to use other methods with their research designs. Again, not true. You can use mixed methods with a single subject design. That's not what we mean when we say single subject. C, each subject in a design acts as their own control. Yes, this is what we're talking about. Each subject is going to act as their own control, meaning we're going to compare their baseline to their changes. As they're acting as their own control, it's considered a single subject design. And then D, all subjects are compared to another single subject design group. No, we're going to look at each subject in a vacuum and compare it to their own, just like they're their own control. So what we mean by single subject is each subject in a design acts as their own control. Tony Perkins starts a new weight training regimen. He uses a mixture of protein powder, energy drinks, and other supplements throughout the course of his routine. He thinks he is spending too much money on these items, so he wants to determine what is effective and what is not. Should he do? All right, what should Tony do? Let's think about the question. What is his problem? He's spending too much money on items, so he wants to determine what is effective and what is not, assumingly so he can stop spending money on some items. So if he's got this whole regimen, let's think about that as a treatment package. His regimen has protein powder, energy drinks, and supplements. Our treatment package might have a DRO, a punishment procedure, and then a shaping procedure, let's just say. And if we want to determine in our treatment package what is effective and what is not, what are we going to use? Just like Tony needs to figure out is protein, is energy, or is the supplements effective? So what analysis can we use to determine what component of our treatment package is most effective? A, parametric analysis. Be very careful when we're talking about component parametric. Component is really our top level, right? Component, we're looking at each individual intervention in our package. So we're going to look at protein powder, we're going to look at energy drinks, we're going to look at supplements, or we're going to look at DRO, we're going to look at shaping, we're going to look at punishment. Parametric, we're going to determine, okay, this one is effective. Now let's decide how much of it do we need. So if we determine that energy drinks are effective, now if he does a parametric analysis, he'll say, well, I need 1, 2, 3 energy drinks. So we're not quite to parametric analysis yet because we're still looking at what? We're looking at each component and deciding what is effective and what is not. Component analysis is really that simple, right? We shouldn't overthink it. You're taking a treatment package and you're analyzing each component to see its effect on behavior. What Tony needs to do is do a component analysis across his protein powder, drinks, and supplements. What about an indirect assessment? Indirect assessment would be worse, right? He's not actually observing anything. And then use anecdotal evidence to make his determination. Tony's anecdotes, just like our anecdotes, our own personal views and opinions and stories, are not going to be what we want to use when determining behavior change procedures when doing component analysis, right? Anecdotes are not objective enough. They're not empirical enough. What Tony needs to do is conduct a component analysis on the different parts of his regimen. 23. Two detectives are interviewing witnesses at the scene of a crime. The detectives ask the witnesses how many people they saw run out of the building. All three witnesses say they saw four people run out of the building. Later on, the detectives find out there were only two people running from the building. Witness data lacks what? So when we talk about data, we're talking about data here. We want our data to be valid, accurate, reliable, and then we want to have inter-observer agreement. Inter-observer agreement is, of course, let's say one of the witnesses, okay, agrees with the other data from the other witnesses. So if you have multiple technicians on your team, you want all their data to look the same. And then when you go in and you take the data, your data matches theirs. That is inter-observer agreement. So we have inter-observer agreement, right? Because they all saw four people run out. So we have IOA. We're also looking at validity. Is their data valid? And validity just says, are we measuring what we intend to? Well, yes, they measured the four people, and that's what we wanted to measure. So their data is valid. Now, is it accurate? Accurate says we got a true measurement of what occurred. Well, three witnesses say they saw four people, but detectives say there were only two people. So was their data accurate? It wasn't, because they didn't measure the true value of what actually occurred. They said four, there's only two. Now, what about reliability? Reliability says you can measure and get the same thing over and over again. We only have one data point here, so we can't really say if it's reliable or not. All we can say with certainty is their data was not accurate. They said four, the true value was two. Why is it so important when you're implementing interventions that our independent variable affects the dependent variable and causes a change? Think about this for a second. Why is it so important that our IV affects our DV? So if I've got a baseline and then I implement my intervention, what do I want to see happen? I want to see the dependent variable, the behavior, change. I want my intervention to change the behavior. And why do I want that to occur? A, this is the only way to demonstrate respondent conditioning. Doesn't make sense. If you get an answer choice that makes zero sense, it's probably because it doesn't. Okay, this has nothing to do with respondent conditioning. B, the change will indicate a lack of experimental control. Now, careful. Do we have a lack of experimental control if our intervention is changing the behavior? Well, no. We're exercising experimental control, right? So if we look at C, the change will indicate a functional relation. Yes, we want a functional relationship between our interventions, our IVs, and the behaviors or the DVs. So if our independent variable affects the dependent variable, causes a change, we are now looking at a potential functional relation, which is what we want to see. So if we look at D, adheres to description, goal of behavior analysis. Well, we have description, prediction, and control, right? Those are our goals. Description just says what we're looking at, observable and measurable, right? Then we have prediction. We're saying this, if this happens, this will happen. So hypothesis, there might be a correlation. Control is what we're demonstrating here, right? We actually have a functional relation. We have control over the behavior. So we're way past description if we're already intervening. What is occurring here and why it's so important is that this change will indicate a functional relation. 25. A client has started engaging in severe self-injurious behavior when presented with task demands at school. This behavior occurs most frequently in math class. What should be the consulting BCBA's priority when discussing this behavior with the teacher? Okay, be careful here, right? It's a behavior question, but it's more of an ethical question. And why is that? Because we're talking about severe self-injurious behavior. And what is our number one priority when working with our clients? Do no harm. Protect them, do no harm. So if we have a client who is engaging in just severe self-injurious behavior, above all else, what do we need to accomplish? We need to make it stop, right? We have to get them, we have to prevent them from engaging in the self-injurious behavior any longer. Okay. So when we're talking about a BCBA's priority, when talking with the teacher, what is their priority going to be? Well, it's going to be to stop this as soon as possible. So A, reducing the injurious behavior immediately to protect the client. Yes, that's what we need to do. Okay. Even if we have to reduce task demands, whatever we need to do, we just cannot allow severe self-injurious behavior to continue. Now putting the client in harm's way, putting other people in harm's way. Our number one objective, do no harm. We have to put an end to this somehow, some way. So we never just stop at our first answer choice. We read all of our answer choices. You have to get in that habit. B, making sure the teacher is following through with all task demands. No, because we're to the point now where it's gotten out of hand. Somebody's going to be in danger. We can't do harm. C, implementing a light punishment procedure and then increasing if necessary. What's wrong with this? A punishment procedure might not be the worst idea if we really need to decrease something like this quickly. But punishment should always be what? It should always be the most intense you can get away with from the beginning. We never fade in punishment. Okay? It should always be the peak from the start. So C is just fundamentally wrong. And then D, conducting a full functional analysis before moving forward. A full functional analysis takes time, takes resources. We don't have that time and resources. Our first, number one priority is reducing the injurious behavior immediately to protect the client. Halloween is coming up in a few weeks. Craig is so excited to wear his new costume that his mom bought him. Craig's mom tells him that he needs to make all A's and B's if he wants to wear his costume. Craig's mom is using a what? Little reminder question, right? We have to remember, we don't bribe contingencies, right? We don't bribe, we make contingencies. A lot of people will criticize ABA and say you use bribes. As a BCBA, you need to tell them we don't use bribes. We do the opposite of bribing. Why is that? Well, look at this, right? So Halloween's coming up. Craig gets to wear his new costume. But before he can, Craig's mom tells him that he needs to make A's and B's if he wants to wear his costume. So this word if right here is our key. Because the contingency is what? Well, it's simply an if-then statement. If you do this, then you do this. Craig's mom says, if you get A's and B's, you get to wear your costume. A bribe would be Craig gets to wear his costume, and then his mom says, now you have to make A's and B's. Craig gets the consequence first, right? He gets the reinforcer first. That's a bribe. The reinforcer has to follow positive behavior we want to see. So Craig's mom is not using a bribe. She's using a contingency. It isn't a high P request sequence. There's no high probability request going on into a low probability request. And it isn't a shaping procedure. There's no approximations of behavior. Craig's mom is simply implementing this contingency. If you make all A's and B's, then you get to wear your costume. This is what we need to be doing all day, right? Setting up contingencies. 27. Winter is coming, and last night it got down to 20 degrees in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Lane could not take it anymore and turned his heater on for the first time this fall. After the chill was gone, Lane was able to go back to bed. What is most represented in this scenario? I think these are the hardest of the reinforcement and punishment questions. Okay. I think positive and negative punishment are pretty easy, pretty clear. But when we start talking about positive versus negative reinforcement, it can get a little tricky. So you have to break it down, especially when studying. So what do we know? We know last night, 20 degrees. Lane couldn't take it anymore. It's cold. Turned his heater on. Okay, turned his heater on. What happened when he turned his heater on? The antecedent was 20 degrees. The response was turn heater on. The consequence was chill was gone. Took away the chill. Okay. So if we took it away, took something away, is that positive or negative? Negative, right? And then in the future, Lane's going to turn his heater on, right? It's first time this fall, but he's done it before. So if in the future he needs to get rid of the chill, he needs to turn his heater on, his behavior is going to increase or maintain, right? So if our behavior is increasing or maintaining, are we reinforcing or punishing? We're reinforcing. So we're taking something away, negative, to increase, reinforce. What is most represented in the scenario? Negative reinforcement. You got to, when you're studying, break down reinforcement and punishment questions like this, okay? When I work with people getting ready for the exam, the easy questions like this, the reinforcement punishment questions, they go too quick, okay? They just fly through them. You have enough time, especially if you are prepared. Break them down slowly, okay? The more you break them down when you're studying, the easier it's going to be on test day. Because on test day, you're going to be anxious. You might be tired. You might be thirsty. You have all these other things, all these other variables affecting you. You want to control this, right? You know you're prepared going in. And you prepare by breaking down each question slowly and methodically. 28. Pomodoro Method is a popular way to study that involves extended periods of study time followed by short breaks. The breaks are 10 minutes long in between study periods. What is the IRT of studying? Super easy question, a 1 or a 2 difficulty. Guess what? A lot of questions on the exam. Some of them are going to be super easy. What do we do on the easy questions? Trust our prep, answer it, move on. So, what are we looking for? We're looking for IRT, inter response time, time in between two responses. We know we're using this Pomodoro method that involves breaks, and we know the breaks are 10 minutes long in between study periods. So, you study for an hour, break 10 minutes, start studying again. So, our time in between responses is 10 minutes. So, the inter response time is going to be 10 minutes. Easy, easy, easy question. Trust your prep. Cannot overthink these. Okay. Trust your prep. Pick the answer you know is right. Move on to the harder questions. 29. Jack is starving after spending all morning in class. His friends and him get into his car and start driving around looking for something to eat. Jack sees a Chinese restaurant and says, Chinese? This is an example of a what? Get this question a lot. Okay. Get this question a lot. What is an impure tact? A lot of people think it's a manned and an interverbal or a tact and interverbal. If we look at Cooper, an impure tact, it's part manned, part tact. It's evoked by a motivating operation and a nonverbal stimulus. So in this case, Jack is starving. Here's our MO, right? He's deprived of food after spending all morning in class. So his friends get into his car, start driving around. Jack sees a Chinese restaurant and says, Chinese. The Chinese restaurant represents a non-verbal stimulus. So Jack seeing the Chinese restaurant and saying Chinese is evoked by the MO of starving, deprivation, and the nonverbal stimulus of a Chinese restaurant. This is an example of an impure tact. Put this in here because it's a good learning opportunity, right? This is straight from Cooper. Obviously not an interverbal. Interverbal is evoked by a verbal SD, right? Doesn't have point-to-point correspondence. It's not an impure man because there is no impure man. And then it's not a transcription because we're not writing down, right? It's an impure tact. Part manned, part tact. Evoked by MO and a nonverbal stimulus. And then finally, 30, you've been implementing the same token economy for 4 months now, which allows your client to earn stars and redeem the stars for items. So far, it has been effective at changing your client's behavior. However, you've noticed your client is starting to save up all the stars and not spend them. What might you try first? Okay, token economies. What are we doing? Building up tokens. We're pairing them with backup reinforcers. Our backup reinforcers make up our store. So some token economies, right? It's just you give them 4 tokens, they exchange 4 exchanges. More complex token economies actually working like a store, right? You can save up your money. You can spend your money however you please based on what items we have. But what you need to make sure is happening is that they're actually spending their stars, their tokens, right? Because if they're not, they're going to start to lose their value. The only way these tokens or these stars have value is being paired with backup reinforcers. If I'm not spending, I'm not getting the backup reinforcers. That's what's happening here, right? You know it's been effective at changing behavior, but you know your client is saving up his stars and not spending them, right? So that's an issue. So what do you need to try? Because we need to get him spending those stars. A, change the entire token economy to better fit the client's needs. We don't need to change the entire token economy, right? It's been effective so far. So let's pump the brakes on that. What else can we do? Okay, what else can we change? Decrease the amount of items the client is able to exchange for. Well, if he's already saving them up and not spending them, decreasing the items doesn't seem likely to encourage him to spend more. What about decrease the value of the stars? Well, if you decrease the value of the stars, that means he needs even more stars. He has to save even more. We're trying to get him not saving. So D, increase the number of items the client is able to purchase. So maybe we just don't have enough valuable luxury items. We have to do another preference assessment. We need to get him start spending his stars again so those stars remain reinforcing and motivating. So however you've noticed your client is starting to save up all the stars and not spend them, what might you try first? D, increase the number of items that the client is able to purchase. All right, great. We are on part 3. So we'll be back next week with part 4 of our 4th exam. Be sure to check out behavioranalyststudy.com for our BCBA study materials. Questions, comments, let us know. Like, subscribe, join. Other than that, work hard, study hard. I'll see you soon.